welcome to the Good Fight Sports Podcast, your home for local sports here in the 574. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Good Fight Sports Podcast. My name is Kenny Cramer, and I'm alongside Brady Master today.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, we're the only two today, Brady.
Yeah, it's a very crowded room. Not much air to breathe in here.
I know, right? I'm going to preface this podcast today by saying Brady and I were here, 3 weeks ago?
I think it was 3. Yeah, that was.
And we were doing the podcast. We had a great conversation, and to us it seemed like almost a 2-hour podcast. But when we went out and saw that nothing got recorded, that kind of put a halt to everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you're going to hear today is old news, but there's also new news on top of that. So we just got a bunch to get into, and we're just going to dive right in with breaking news in the high school conference aspect. So Northern Indiana Conference members John Glenn and Bremen are trying to get out of the conference.
Really?
And join the Hoosier North Athletic Conference, the conference LaVille is in.
That would be scary.
Now, here's the thing about that. Bremen has tried to join the Hoosier North, but they've been blackballed every time. So, okay, so if you don't know, if you're not from around here, I should have said the Northern Indiana Conference is a 12-team conference, mainly composed of South Bend schools. So the current teams, if you don't know who's in that conference, current teams in the conference are Bremen, Elkhart, Jimtown, John Glenn, Mishawaka-Marion, New Prairie, Penn, South Bend Adams, South Bend Clay, South Bend St. Joe, South Bend Riley, South Bend Washington.
So many South Bends.
Have I said all the South Bends? Yes, I have. So that's the conference now. So Bremen, Jimtown, John Glenn, and New Prairie joined in 2014 when mainly Knox and LaVille decided to leave the Northern State Conference and make their own conference. So the 4 bigger schools of the Northern State decided to join the NIC, and now apparently Bremen and John Glenn are realizing that they can't go on with getting their teeth kicked in to mainly Penn every single year.
Doesn't surprise me that they're making that change or trying to.
Right. And so now here's the other kicker, too. The Bremen blackball one, it was big news. But I also saw, and from some sources, that Knox and LaVille are talking about leaving if those two get accepted, those two being Bremen and John Glenn.
Really?
Yes.
That would definitely shake up everything, man.
Yeah, right.
Because LaVille is like, you didn't hear it yet, folks, but, maybe later in the podcast you're going to hear what I had to say in the previous podcast, which none of you will ever get to hear me talking about LaVille. But that's going to really shake up, the competitive scene for their basketball and just sport, everything in general. I mean, that's going to be interesting if that does happen.
Right. And I was talking with Steve Cox yesterday. And I asked him about it because he's really involved with LaVille, and I asked him about it, and I told him it's like I've heard LaVille and Knox could leave, and he was like, who made LaVille king of the conference just because we've won some trophies in the conference that we have all the say we want to? I mean, okay, so now, okay, we're gonna dive into the hypothetical here now.
In the hypotheticals, Kenny,
Okay.
let's get through
So
this.
let's say Bremen and John Glenn get accepted,
Mm-hmm.
and then let's say Knox and LaVille. Let's say LaVille and Knox, not Knox and LaVille. LaVille and Knox. LaVille being the catalyst for Knox to leave as well. Let's say those two leave. What conference out there is suitable for those two schools? Exactly.
The real question is, does LaVille want to win? Like, do they want to be the best in their conference easily, or do they want to have a challenge? Because I think where they're at now, they have, I don't know, Kenny. What do you think, Kenny? This is a really interesting question because, man.
I mean, okay, so the reason why mainly LaVille is in the conference is because, I mean, they had to play the likes of Bremen, Jimtown, John Glenn, and New Prairie every single year.
So what's LaVille's full? Everyone in the conference
Well,
is it
okay,
just
so the
who?
teams that are currently in the Hoosier North Athletic Conference are LaVille, Caston, Culver, Knox, North Judson, Pioneer, Triton, and Winnemac. So it's an 8-team conference, but it's mainly LaVille. All the schools are smaller. I mean, with the exception of Knox being the biggest one,
Right.
it is a small team conference.
Do you think LaVille could survive in a big team conference?
No, and they've already done
That's-
that in the Northern State Conference, where they
Right.
had to play New Prairie, Jimtown, John Glenn, and Bremen in that order of how big they are every year. And especially in football, getting your teeth kicked in by New Prairie and Jimtown
Yeah, that's
just wasn't fun.
not fun to watch as a fan. Not even, and that's kind of bad for the kids that want to, move on to maybe, go and play college because, they
Right.
don't get they might not get no one's going to go scout a team that's getting their teeth kicked in every single game. I mean, you're going to have to go and, push for that yourself, and that's kind of hard to do when you have a terrible record as a team.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's smarter to just stay in kind of a smaller conference considering, LaVille's they're not that big of a school. I mean, they're bigger than the other team schools in their conference for the most part, but that's not saying much, Kenny. I mean,
So now let's put away the hypothetical of Knox and LaVille dipping the conference. Let's jump to the hypothetical of, let's say, Bremen and Glenn get accepted. That would make the conference 10 teams. Now, for basketball and any other sport besides football, that's fine having a 10-team conference.
Yeah.
You can manage that.
Because you only got 5 players on the court, and you can't have over however much people on the bench, so you can't really load the roster as much as a sport like football.
Right. Well,
or literally any other sport besides basketball.
Right. And I think the biggest factor for having they would have to go divisions for football.
Right.
For the logistical reasons of travel.
So that would be an issue.
So there's 3 options, 2 of which were I've seen from a credible source, and one of which is my own, just because I feel like I now have that kind of say that I can do that. Even though really no one's going to listen to this and say, "Oh yeah, I like that idea. I thought it was a good idea, so I just wrote it
There's
down."
probably someone out there, Kenny. Don't worry.
Thank you, Brady. I appreciate that. So the one that I saw is 2 divisions, big school and small school. So in the big school division, you would have Knox, Glenn, Bremen, LaVille, and North Judson. And then in the small school, you would have Pioneer, Culver, Caston, Triton, and Winnemac. So basically, you would have the old Northern State Conference minus Culver and Triton in that in that division, which somewhat makes sense. But if you start looking at logisticals, North Judson being in the big school, having having those two divisions just doesn't make sense for logistics.
Right.
Because you got Culver and Triton, who are northern schools, traveling down south to play.
Yeah.
Which just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that would, and that's one thing people don't talk about is, having to go that far of a distance to play a basketball game. It's not only you're playing an away game, it's that you have to take a bus usually,
right.
And that I know from being on buses before, I'm homeschooled, but I've been on buses before. Man, you do not feel the same after a long bus ride.
Right.
Like, you don't play the same.
Right.
It's not the same as, playing a home game on your home court, with your own, team and fans around you, Of course, some teams suck at home,
but they don't on the road.
Yeah, they're better on the road, but they don't have to drive,
right,
an hour or however, or even longer. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how.
So the farthest LaVille has to go, conference-wise,
right,
would be Pioneer, which is all the way down in Royal Center, Indiana.
I've never even been there.
It is dead south of Winnemac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's about. I think it's about an hour drive from LaVille. So I think if they went that route, I should have also said having those two divisions, you would have two crossover games too from the other division.
Right.
So LaVille would have to play on a annual basis football-wise North Judson, Bremen, Glenn, and Knox, which as of right now where they stand, they already do that.
Yeah.
And then they would probably pick up Culver and Triton as two crossover games. Now thinking about that, it's like you're not really traveling that far. But right now, I mean, football. Okay, so traveling for football is not that big of a deal because you're doing it on a Friday night.
Yes, and also
during basketball season, you're doing it during the week.
Yeah,
and you're doing it after school. And then you got to wake up. And if you do it like on a Wednesday and you travel, so LaVille, they travel down to Pioneer on a Wednesday night. You got to turn around, drive an hour back. Then all of the players have to drive home, wake up, and then come to school the next day.
Right.
And especially if you have a Friday, Saturday game where you have to travel for one, come back, and play at home, you're going to feel a bit, I don't think jet lagged is the right word, bus lagged. I just made up a word,
lagged.
But bus lagged.
You heard it here, folks. Bus lagged, Kenny Cramer. Get the
trademark it.
Trademark.
It's out there. I came up with it first. I don't need the credit, though.
Allegedly came up with it first.
We'll get into allegedly later. That is for sure. So the second option I saw was no big school, small school thing, but in the first division, there would be Bremen, Glenn, Triton, LaVille, and Knox. And in the second division would be Winnemac, Pioneer, Caston, Culver, and North Judson. And again, two crossover games.
Right.
Now, that one right there screams will not work because you've got Knox driving to play LaVille and Glenn and Bremen and Triton.
Yeah, that would be very one-sided against Knox. I mean, that would suck.
Right.
Well, in the other way, if you think about it, I mean, you
got schools playing Knox. They have to drive all the way down there.
All the way to Knox. And
right,
who wants to go to Knox? I'm sorry, but no one.
Sorry, Knox.
We love you guys, but
and then, so the one that I thought of and the one that I think makes the most sense is North and South. So in the North Division, you would have LaVille, Glenn, Bremen. Those two are have been in all three, but then Triton and Culver. So the furthest that LaVille would have to drive to play an away game, if need be, would be Culver. That's not far.
That's probably. That's probably
maybe
40,
maybe half hour,
maybe a little longer,
40 minutes,
depending
on traffic.
Right, depending on how it is.
Right.
If you go the redneck route or you go the traditional route.
If you go to the traditional route, you're probably looking 30, 35 minutes.
Right. You go the redneck route, you get there about 15 minutes. Going 85 back roads, curvy. Oh man.
Oh.
Yes, I know the ways. I know the ways.
We won't get into details on this podcast. This sounds like another podcast idea we should do.
It does. Light bulb.
And then that would leave in the South Division, you would have Winnemac, Caston, Knox, North Judson, and Pioneer, which logistically makes sense for both divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there would be 2 crossover games, because that's probably how you would want to set it up.
Right.
Now, with that being said, with a 10-team conference, you have 5 teams in each division. Kind of doesn't make sense. So maybe looking into 2 more schools to join, which leads into another thing that I saw, that if Glenn and Bremen get accepted, an investigation into having Tippecanoe Valley and Rochester join the conference to make it 12, 6 and 6. So then you're probably going to look at, if they were going to do the North and South option, you would probably have in the North, obviously LaVille, Glen, Bremen.
Right.
You would probably put Triton, Culver, and I would put Rochester in there. Because if you put Tippy Valley in the North, it just doesn't make sense because they are way south.
Right. How big of a school are they? Are they pretty small? Or?
So in football, Tippy Valley's 3A, and Rochester's 2A.
Oh.
So they're about the same size as LaVille. About. And in basketball, LaVille plays Tippy Valley already. They played them the last, I think, 4 years. So in basketball, LaVille and Tippy Valley are kind of already know each other.
But they've not graced each other in football.
No, I don't. At least I don't think so. I haven't looked back in the history of LaVille football. But Tippy Valley in the North Division just doesn't make logistics sense. Rochester would be the only team in the North you would want to put in. Now, you could maybe theoretically put North Judson in the North, but then again, that still doesn't make sense either.
That would be... I mean, you could do it, but
or
it
you
would
put Knox.
I think Knox would be a little better than North Judson, but even then, you're still kind of stretching. Like, I think you should just keep it. You know, I think what we mentioned here. I mean, I think adding Rochester and Tippy would be great. Tippecanoe, it's Tippecanoe Valley.
Yeah.
I think that would be smart. I mean, it's definitely going to be different, I feel like, to kind of... So, I don't know what would happen with LaVille. Like, I don't know where they would stand in... I mean, they're obviously going to be playing against some of the people they've always played against, but it's going to be different because they're, if they change up however, the conference, it's going to be a shell shock to especially the players and the coaching, because you kind of got to have a different approach to everything, because you're not only just playing against who you were originally. I mean, you got different scheduling and different everything going on.
Right, and it's like if you do go that route and you do add the Glen and Bremen, and then you add Rochester and Tippy Valley, I mean, you've got to blow up all of your scheduling and reschedule.
Yeah,
conference-wise. Maybe not non-conference-wise, but I mean, you're looking at. So if they went right that route, you're looking at you're looking at probably in a 12-team with 6 teams in each division, you would probably do 1 crossover game instead of 2. Because if you do 2, how football is, it's 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly 7 or 8 of which are conference games. And you're usually left with, 2 non-conference games or 1 non-conference game, with the exception of the Northern Indiana Conference, because they're just crazy like that. They can do whatever they want. They have 4 non-conference games, but you would probably do 1 crossover game from each division. That would leave 2 non-conference games or 2 open slots for teams you want to play. Now, you can play other teams from the other division, but that wouldn't count towards conference standings.
Right.
But that's that option.
I think that's probably the best logistical and just kind of, I think that would definitely make it a lot easier for everybody. That would definitely fix the issues that there is, but I don't know. LaVille, I don't know what they're going to do, man. It's going to be interesting to hear the news. And you won't hear it here first probably when it happens or whatever happens.
You'll probably read it in the paper.
You'll probably hear it.
We'll break it on here.
We'll talk about it on here.
For sure. Now, I know what you're thinking, people out there, and maybe Brady as well. What happens if John Glenn and Bremen don't get accepted into the Hoosier North? They've got 3 options. 1, join the Northern Lakes Conference.
Oh.
So the current teams in the Northern Lakes Conference are Concord, Goshen, Mishawaka, Northridge, Northwood, Plymouth, Warsaw, Wawasee.
That would be funny to see LaVille in that conference.
No, not LaVille.
No, I know not LaVille, but I mean that would be really funny if LaVille was in that conference.
LaVille would never go in that conference.
I know they would not, but man, that would be funny.
No.
That'd be fun.
No. If LaVille was a 4A school, I would say maybe, but no.
No. But that might happen eventually, Kenny.
No, it will not.
I don't know.
So, now I will say the only reason why Mishawaka is in the Northern Lakes Conference is because they replaced Elkhart Memorial in a sense when Elkhart consolidated into one school. And that was 3 years ago? 2 years ago? 3 years ago.
That was 3, yeah.
3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Their other option for conference is to join the Three Rivers Conference. And that conference is composed of Maconaquah, Manchester, Northfield, North Miami, Peru, Rochester, Southwood, Tippecanoe Valley, Wabash, and Whitkill. And those teams are like they're the northernmost southern point of Indiana. Does that make any sense?
If that makes sense, yes.
They're the southernmost part of northern Indiana.
Right, yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So, they're the southernmost northern conference for Indiana. And I don't think that makes much sense. Because it doesn't. Because teams would be traveling all the way up to Walkerton to play and all the way over to Bremen to play. Just doesn't make any sense. And then their only other option is make their own. And
I don't see that happening. I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't think that they got the facilities for that. I mean, I don't know who would want to leave. I mean, maybe there are teams that would want to, but logistically, that's the issue because there might be some teams that want to leave, but they're not, close to them. Because I think a lot of other teams are pretty happy or, pretty okay with their current conference situation. So,
I mean, because you would have to look at, teams about your size.
Right.
Teams in your general area. Like, the only teams I can even see leaving the conference would be leaving other conferences would be maybe Jimtown.
Yeah,
New
but that'd
Prairie,
be shooting
and New Prairie.
I don't think Jimtown would do that. I think that'd be shooting themselves in the foot to leave. I mean, maybe not, but I think it would be better to build and be in your conference as a team and try to, instead of, making a whole new conference because, you aren't it's not working in this conference. I mean, unless it's like seriously an issue, like, oh, you got to drive, 2 hours. No, like, for high school sports, I don't think you should just quit and bail, or high school stuff in general. I think you should try to, work around the issues or work around whatever instead of just, all right, I'm out of here. Bye, everybody. It's like, what conference are you joining? My own. That's what I'm doing. I'm joining my own conference, Kenny. Man.
So later on, we're going to get into teams quitting and not working around issues. We'll get to that.
Because that is a serious issue, I feel like, in high school right now.
We're going to get to that because that's come up this week, too.
Is that involving some South Bend schools, or is that
no? That's involving some schools down in the Indianapolis area.
Oh, okay.
Big schools down there.
And
we'll talk about that later on. I'm not going to spoil anything.
Not going to spoil anything, but I think I heard a little bit of some stuff about something up in Indy. We'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
We're getting there. It's gonna we got about 2.5 hours of all this before we can get into that stuff. Before we can do a deep dive.
Yeah. So, okay, now off of the breaking news, we're gonna throw it way back here. We have not congratulated the LaVille Lady Lancers on their season for this year. So, from the Good Fight Sports Podcast, we would like to give you guys a round of applause for the season.
Good job.
So, if you guys don't know, the LaVille Lady Lancers finished the season 19-7. They were the runner-up in the sectional championship game on February 4th against South Central at North Judson High School. So the couple trophies they won, they won the bi-county tournament. I mean, that's like the biggest tournament.
Right.
Probably it is in northern Indiana, but Steve Cox and I would argue in the state as well, because there's no other tournament I think that has lasted longer.
Right, it has more history.
And has more history. And the amount of rivalries that are built out of this.
Oh, yeah.
And are built into this. There's no other tournament that matches that.
Right.
And it was the first time that the LaVille girls had won since 1993. So that's 30 years ago.
Right.
And it was just crazy to watch.
Right. Kenny, one thing I've kind of had a change of heart, kind of just like look about is, the whole rivalry thing. I look at it as there's like, you'll have, people like to say there's like professional teams that have rivalries, and I think they do, but not so much the players, because they're getting paid. They're getting paid, big money. But if you go down to a high school or college level, you're not playing for money. You're playing for your team and your hometown's pride. So there is rivalry. Yeah. And, especially high school. They don't talk about it as much. I mean, college, there's, the big ones. You got like, let's see.
You got Ohio State, Michigan.
Right.
You got
Notre Dame, USC.
You got Notre Dame, USC.
Like, Notre Dame has a rivalry with literally every other team in college football. There's something that's happened.
Right. Auburn, Alabama. They're in the same state.
Right. It's
Purdue, Indiana. It's
yeah. I mean, but I think the best rivalry. I can't speak right now. Rivalry. Are definitely in high school, because you look at these players and it's not like. That's another thing is people, you play professional sports, you're not just going to play for 4 years, you're not going to play for a full degree.
Right.
You're playing as long as you're getting paid. So, you can act and do whatever you want really when you're getting that. But when you're in a high school setting and you have to, not only play, but you have to, keep your grades up and try to be, looking for, going to college somewhere. I mean, it's a lot different atmosphere, and being in that crowd against, at home when you have an opposing team, you're playing, how loud those games get. It's one of the best feelings as a fan to be at one of those games.
Oh, for sure.
It's almost more enjoyable for me than going to a professional game, like a NFL game, is going to a really good, high school game against another team, which like they just go at it every single game. It's yeah.
And it's like you like, I'm just gonna piggyback off of what you said. It's like, there's rivalries in professional sports. Like, for example, you got, I would say, Colts and Bears.
Right.
They're so close.
Or Packers and
Bears. I mean, those two teams just don't like each other.
Right.
But it's the fan bases that don't.
Yeah,
it's not the
players.
The players could give a rip.
Yeah.
The players are friendly. If you see them after the game, they're out there like shaking hands. They're out there exchanging jerseys.
Right.
I mean, most of those guys probably talk to the other guys on the other team. Not quite often, but enough to where they know about each other.
Yeah.
In high school, it's the same way, but in a smaller setting. I mean, those players grow up with each other. They've played the AAU ball or whatever. They know each other so well, and you pit them against each other for one game and one night where there's a rivalry. The fan bases don't like each other.
Right.
The players go out and they put aside their friendships, and they just go out because they want to win, and that's the only thing that's happening. That's the only thing. That's the only result that comes out of it. You get the best rivalries.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the Plymouth-Warsaw rivalries. You get the LaVille-John Glenn rivalries, the LaVille-Bremen rivalries, the Penn-Mishawaka rivalries.
Oh, yeah.
You get those big-time rivalries that everyone looks forward to. That's unmatched. I mean, the only other one that comes close is college.
Right.
But even then, that's kind of like, there's a few that are like, oh, yeah, you're supposed to be rivals. Like Purdue, Indiana. You're supposed to be rivals. You're in the same state. Auburn, Alabama. That. Florida, Georgia. I mean, they're bordering.
Right.
And all that. So there's games like that that's just, okay, you're supposed to be rivals. But
you'll know when it's a true rival game.
Oh,
because
for sure.
You can just tell the second you get to that game, you see some games. I noticed with LaVille. I mean, they had a really good season. So the bleachers were packed. Like, I remember I got there like probably 5-10 minutes before the game started when they were playing North Judson. I couldn't get a seat. I had to stand for the whole game because there was no seating available left.
Right.
I mean, people left, when the game got into overtime in the fourth quarter. But, dude, and that wasn't even like, is North Judson even a rival with LaVille? Or is it something that's starting to brew?
It's starting to brew because I think we're going to go off script again. We're kind of going off script.
We're breaking
like
the script.
We did in the last podcast we did, even though no one heard about it. We kind of did this. We kind of went off script a little bit. We won't go as far off script as we've done before. I will say that now because we got pretty deep at the crawl on that one, I will say. So the rivalry with North Judson. So before that game, LaVille had lost the last 2 years in a row to North Judson. They lost in 2020, 9-7, and then in 2021, 10-9 in overtime. So, and then for the and then before that, LaVille had beaten North Judson the last 1, 2, 3, for the last 4 times before that. And I think LaVille has a 1-game lead on them on the all-time series. So I really wouldn't consider it a rivalry, but it's something that's starting to brew, especially with the way LaVille won the last game they played.
Oh, very
from
much
this
so.
Year, from this year. So if you think, I'm going to say this now, LaVille fans, please don't get mad at me, or you can agree with me. Noah Richhart was stopped. His forward progress was stopped.
It was stopped.
It was stopped.
Now,
that play should have been dead.
Not saying, that they wouldn't have scored on the next drive.
Not yet.
They probably would have.
They probably would have.
Because of, they had the momentum. But,
right.
Man, Noah Richhart, shout out Noah.
Right. More like shout out offensive line.
Yeah, they absolutely, talk about a second effort. People refer to like a second effort by an actual player, but it was the whole team that pushed that pile. That was, man. I remember that. That was a crazy moment. That was. Yeah. I loved that. And of course, it was one of the people on the team that I know really well that did that. And because I know some of the players, but especially Noah Richhart, we're all good friends with Noah,
for sure.
But yeah, that was something special.
Yeah, and especially when you have in those games, you got conference championship on the line, you've got a sectional championship on the line, you've got whatever on the line, bi-county tournament, for example. I mean, you're going to have those games where you're just going to come out and you're going to want to win because you want that trophy. You want that prize. That's what you're playing for. You're not playing for tens of millions of dollars for a game.
Right.
No, you're playing one game to win, and that's it. And you get bragging rights.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go too off script, even though we just did, back to the LaVille Lady Lancers. So the Hoosier North Athletic Conference, all conference honors came out a couple weeks ago, and there were 3 players from LaVille that got mentioned, 2 of which were named to the all conference team, and then 1 was an honorable mention.
Let me guess. So is this for what you said, basketball?
This is for basketball. This is girls.
Girl. Okay, so I already know Lucy Shirk.
Lucy Shirk,
obviously.
Okay.
I want to say it. It's probably not. Is Michaela Kusky? No. She is.
She was honorable mention.
She was. Oh, she was the honorable. So then who's? I don't know who the. Is it? Oh man, drawing a blank.
It was Halen Kwiatkowski.
Halen, yeah, I remember we talked about her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so Lucy and Halen made the all conference honors, and then Michaela Kusky was the honorable mention. So 3 LaVille players mentioned, 2 made the all conference, and then Michaela was the runner up, if you will, but the honorable mention of that. So big news! Congratulations again to the LaVille girls.
Yeah.
On a great year.
Looking forward to many more, hopefully.
Looking forward to more great years under Nick Amor as head coach. And I got to say, his head coaching style, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like
it's very good.
Especially with the group that LaVille has back. We got Michaela Kusky back, too. So I think sky's the limit with this team.
Yeah.
Do you want to give your prediction of what you think for Bi-County next year, Brady?
I think LaVille Lady Lancers are going to win the Bi-County again.
Okay.
I think we're going to have a repeat. I don't know. I think the boys are also going to do the. I think they're gonna two-peat Bi-County.
You're going to
two-peat sweep. They're gonna look like Michael Jordan in the finals here. They're gonna. I mean, I don't know if they'll go to state. I mean, I don't know if the ladies will go to state. I think they have. Like if they'll win state, I don't know. Now the boys.
Hold up.
Depending on the conference situation, you go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
So we're gonna jump into the boys now.
Right.
So we've got a few games we need to cover with them. So going way back to February 10th,
wow.
They beat Triton, rival Triton, 51-35. and I'll just give some scoring, some stats on that. Michael Good and Colin Zarnecki led the way. They both had 16 points.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to the next day, Saturday, February 11th, they traveled to Whitco, and they won in overtime, 61-58. Zarnecki had the game-winning shot.
Was it a three-pointer? Or?
I have no idea. I just got this off of LaVille Athletics.
Okay, so
yeah. So
right.
I really don't know because it wasn't really said specifically what happened.
You just had the game-winning shot.
It had the game-winning shot.
So I'm guessing it's a three-pointer because if they won by 3 points, unless he hit
a two-pointer,
a 2 and an 1, or maybe it was a 2 and then they got the ball back, they fouled, and then to the line they shot one. That could have been, but yeah,
but I don't know.
Don't know.
But Colin led the way in that game again,
like he
with 21 points.
Nothing we've not seen before from Colin.
Exactly. Michael Good and Owen Smith both had 14, and then Lucas Plummer had 10. And then, so now we're going to go to February 17th. LaVille beat Caston 57-46, and they were led in scoring by Lucas Plummer with 18 points. Colin Zarnecki had 17. Owen Smith had 10, and Michael Good had 8. Now we come into the best part of all. You are not going to want to guess what. So LaVille played Lighthouse CPA. And Lighthouse
I've never even heard of Lighthouse CPA.
Lighthouse CPA is a college preparatory academy over in the Gary area.
Oh.
So it's Lighthouse College Preparatory Academy.
Did LaVille smoke them, or did
LaVille won 79-67? Now, they were led in scoring by
Colin Zarnecki.
Okay, guess how many points he had?
Did he drop 30?
He dropped the 30 number. He had 30 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals.
Dang, I was going to say, if he got a triple-double, 30. Oof. No, but that's amazing. I mean, they won, it was 76 to
79 to 67.
Wow.
So you take 30 points off, and
that game's not the same.
The game's not the same. Michael Good also had 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 blocks. And Owen Smith padded his stat book. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals.
Thought you were gonna say another 6 steals. I was gonna say, Kenny.
No. At that point, you would want to give him either subtract 1
or add 1.
Yeah. And so, fun fact about that: Colin was 1 point away from tying his career high.
Oh yeah, he did drop 31 against.
He dropped 31 against Westville. First game of the year. November 23rd.
Yeah,
in a loss.
So Collins, he's a sophomore, right?
A sophomore this year.
Sophomore dropping 30 points.
Yes.
That's man.
So yeah, Colin dropped 31 points. First game of the year, in a loss. By the way.
Yeah.
In a loss.
Yeah.
To Westville, 67-59. He dropped 31 of the 59 points for LaVille by himself.
Yeah.
He almost single-handedly outscored Westville.
Yeah. But
he didn't.
He didn't. There's only so much you can do in the time you got. I mean, that's just how it is sometimes. But, wow. 31? Man.
31.
Of course, then there's people that, like, I don't know, Ben Davis or, Penn averaging 30-something a game or...
Oh, that's next up.
That is next up?
Because we're going to talk about Penn.
We're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk
about that Plymouth Penn game, or are we going to talk about okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk about...
Yeah. I had friends at that game.
we're gonna jump right into Penn. So
Ooh.
Penn, we're gonna go all the way through what they've done this year. They're number 2 in all polls, 4A and state. They won the Northern Indiana Conference title. They were 11-0 in the conference. They have won now 16 straight conference games. 26 of 27.
Right. They lost to Ben and Dave, or who did they lose to?
Their only loss in a conference game was to Mishawaka Marion last year.
That was last year.
Yes.
Okay.
That's their only loss. So
Right.
they're 26 of 27 since that,
Right.
and a little bit before then. But they've won 26 of 27 conference games with
That's
16 straight.
that's pretty good.
They've scored 80-plus points in the last 5 games and 11 of 14 games. Actually, I need to check my notes to make sure they've actually done that. Yes, because I changed that. But, yeah, 80-plus points in the last 5 games. So I'm going to pull up Penn's schedule here. That way y'all can just hear the accolades that they're doing. I mean, Penn is ridiculous. Since losing to Ben Davis, they've scored 80-plus points 13 times since then. That's at least 80-plus points. 85 points at least 12 times, which 7 games in a row they've scored at least 85. They scored 90 points twice, 3 times, and they just dropped a 94 bomb on Maryville a couple nights ago.
I mean, no wonder when you got the number 1 player in the state, pretty much on your. I mean,
almost, yeah,
almost. I mean, there might be some competition, but
in Northern Indiana, he's the number 1 player.
he's definitely the number 1.
And we're talking about Marcus Burton.
Yep, Marcus Burton.
So we're gonna jump into kind of a few games for Penn. We're not gonna talk about the Plymouth game just yet. We won't go into specifics. But they beat arch rival Mishawaka February 21st, 85-44. And Marcus Burton had a chill 34 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals.
Normal game.
So it's a normal game for him. Joe Smith had 19 points. Dylan Durda had 11. And Joey Garwood added 8. And then Trey Miller had 6. And then... let's see, it was Friday night. They beat Maryville at Maryville 94-49.
They won by 50, right?
They almost won by 50.
Almost won by 50.
They won by 45.
Wow. Let me guess, another 30-something from...
No, Burton just had 28
and
7 assists and 5 rebounds. So, Joe Smith had 22 points, 6 assists. Joey Garwood had 16 points. Josh Gatete and Nolan McCullough both had 8, and then Dylan Durda added 6. So now, a fun fact about all of the boys basketball teams at Penn. So that's freshman, junior varsity, and varsity. They are a combined, and I know this for a fact because I reached out to the Penn Athletic page to figure this out. They are combined 65-3.
Talk about a dynasty.
Talk about Penn's going to be good for a while.
Utter domination.
Yeah, because, so the varsity team right now, it's 23-1. So that means one team has lost either twice. All teams have lost at least once. I don't know for sure. All I know is 65-3 between freshman, junior varsity, and varsity.
Disgusting.
Good.
Exactly.
So now we're going to jump into a little bit of Marcus Burton because we have to. He put up his career high February 10th against South Bend, Washington, in a game that I was at, by the way. I saw, for the first time in my lifetime, I've seen a player dropped 47 points. 47.
Yeah.
So Penn beat South Bend, Washington in this game only by 34 points, 85 to 51.
Only.
Yeah. In the third quarter, I told my dad, who I was with, Penn's going to score 85, and they did. In a game against Plymouth, by the way, I'm not going to go into detail about this game because I have no stats on it, and I really don't want to.
Hating on Plymouth, Kenny.
I'm not hating on Plymouth. I just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I understand. It's Plymouth.
And no one really does anyway.
Well, basketball you can talk about. You can't talk about football. You can get into baseball or basketball or heck, tennis. I'd rather go into tennis than football.
Yeah. We're not going into football. That's
thing.
a whole different thing. So he became the St. Joseph County all-time leading scorer for boys in that game. I think he only needed like 18 points or 20-some-odd points.
I think it was 21 points.
It was something stupid, something easy for him. So he set that in that game. He also went over the 2,000-point mark for his career. And now he's ranked in the state of Indiana in scoring.
Yeah.
He's number 45 all-time in the IHSAA scoring. So right now he's sitting at 2,095 points. So we're gonna make this into where he needs to go to pass an area legend, Sean Kemp.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about someone
Concord.
else. Never mind. Oops.
Sean Kemp from Concord. He's 40 points away from passing Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp finished with 2,134 points. So if Burton wants to tie, he needs 39.
How many games does he have left?
So we're jumping into sectionals now.
Oh, okay. So
if he drops a 30 bubble again, he'll be about 5 points away. So theoretically, he almost can get this in one game. But he's probably going to do it in 2 games.
Right.
But 2 games, 40 points. That's 20 points in each game. That's highly doable.
That is doable.
If Penn keeps winning. That's the kicker.
Who are they playing? That's the real question.
We'll jump into the boys sectionals in a bit.
Right.
So now we're going to jump to another local team, Northwood. Their boys team is ranked number 1 in 3A. And I had the privilege of watching them Friday night against Elkhart. And I say watching them because I did not go to watch Elkhart.
Right.
Yeah. So they've won the Northern Lakes Conference for the 2nd straight year. They're 21-2 this year. And we'll get into the teams that they've lost to when we talk about sectionals. And they beat Elkhart Friday night 61-30. Now, this is the thing that blew my mind and just makes it like Northwood's going to be good for a while too. Combined, JV and varsity beat Elkhart 112-67. Because the JV won 51-37. But 112-67
combined.
That's disgusting.
That is
League good.
Good.
Now we have to jump into girls basketball.
Right.
because we need to do a semi-state recap along with some teams who've made it to the state finals, which were played yesterday, and we'll give results. So probably the biggest one that everyone wants to know about, Huntington North Sectional, 4A, Lake Central versus number 1, South Bend, Washington, in all polls in Indiana, and ranked number 9 nationally. Lost.
Yeah.
To Lake Central, 62-57.
No one saw it, Kenny. No one saw that coming. I don't think it was even in the book that they were going to lose that game.
No. Panthers were down by 17 at halftime, 35-18. And then we're down by 20 at one point in the second half. But then came back to almost beat Lake Central, but just came up short. Only lost by 5. But let's not take away from the Panthers' season this year.
Amazing.
27-1, Northern Indiana Conference champions, sectional champions, regional champions, and they were state champions last year.
Didn't they have 100-point? They beat
New Prairie 103-67.
Right.
And they beat South Bend Clay 91-4.
Yeah, you didn't hear, none of you guys heard this joke, but I said that because it was an average of 1 point per quarter, for them. So I said, I average more time in the bathroom after I eat Taco Bell than they did points. And, it's not as funny now because it was, I made it up on the moment last time, but you guys wouldn't hear it. And the reaction, oh man, that was...
I think there's audience members that are laughing at that.
I think there is.
I mean, I'm not laughing like I did when I heard
the
it
first
the first
time,
but it's still good.
It's still funny.
And it's still true.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, it's sad when you only score 4 points. That's I wouldn't even expect like a freshman team to not a team that I think you could put a team together who's never played basketball and they could score more than 4 points.
Yeah.
I just think they just and actually it's because South Bend, Washington, they play such an aggressive in-your-face defense and offense that they just constantly get turnovers, and it's just like, yeah, you had the basketball. I'm going to take that from you and score. Thanks.
Oh, you're going to pass the ball in?
Oh, I'll take that.
I'll take the ball. Thanks. But yeah. The number 1 team in 4A got upset. No local team from Northern Indiana made it down to Indianapolis yesterday.
Sad.
Big sad. So now we're going to jump over to LaPorte, and that was for the 3A semi-state. So first game, for local teams anyway, Fairfield beat Tippy Valley 54-33. Let me just say the game was never close. That's how bad it was. Tippy Valley fell behind early. They were down at 30 and 1 point in the fourth quarter. So the Vikings, they finished 22-4. They won their conference, which was the Three Rivers. They're sectional champions and regional champions. And also, you and I, we both know a player on Tippy Valley, yes. Gabby Gonzalez. So, to Tippy Valley and Gabby Gonzalez, good job this year.
We tip our hats.
Yeah, we tip our hats.
I'm wearing
you.
a hat. Kenny's not, but I'm tipping it.
I tip my my hat, even though I'm not wearing one. But Fairfield, they went on to play the number 1 team in 3A, who also happened to be undefeated. And won. So
really?
Fairfield knocked off the number 1 team in 3A, 42-34 in the nightcap of the semi-state. That was for the semi-state championship, and they beat number 1 team in 3A, and so they moved on. They punched their ticket to Gamebridge Fieldhouse down in Indianapolis for the 3A state championship game, which was yesterday. And so Twin Lakes finished 28-1. So theoretically, and they do, South Bend, Washington had the second best finish for this year at 27-1. But Fairfield yesterday, 3A state championship against Corydon Central. Guess what happened?
What happened, Kenny?
We got a team from Northern Indiana that just won state for the first time in their history. Fairfield.
Really?
Knocked off Corydon Central 49-42. It was a great game. So Fairfield finishes 28-2 on the year. And their only losses were to Columbia City on the road, 51-46. And Columbia City finished 20-3, and then to Fort Wayne Snyder at home, 59-38. Those are the only two losses. Besides that,
beautiful season.
Beautiful season. So that was 3A. So we'll jump down to 2A because we had a local team play down there. We had at Logansport, we had Central Noble. And they beat Lafayette Central Catholic by 1 in the first game, 43-42. And they advanced to the championship game, and they faced the winner of Lapel and Andrean. So in that game, before all the results came out, they were one of two Northeast Corner Conference teams to play, Fairfield being the other one. So Northeastern Indiana was well represented 2 weeks ago in semi-state. Central Noble, on the other hand, they fell short in their game against Lapel, 51-38. So Cougars had an amazing year. They finished 26-3. Their only losses were to Fairfield twice. One time in the Northeast Corner Conference tournament by 14, 56-42. And then they turned around and played them again the next game and lost 51-23. So, yes, both of those games were back-to-back.
Wow. Gotta love them back-to-back games.
Oh, yes, of course.
So much fun.
Oh, for sure. And then the other Goshen team playing in semi-state, Bethany Christian. Bethany Christian has been a dark horse the whole year. So Bethany Christian beat Washington Township. They're in Valparaiso, by the way. You like to squeak the microphone, huh?
I didn't try to. It just it has a mind of its own.
Okay. So this was Bethany Christian's first trip to semi-state in school history. And they were one win away from their first trip to the state finals. And they were going to play the winner of Tri versus Tri Central. Don't get me into how those teams came up with Tri as their name. I don't know, and I honestly don't care to know. So Bethany Christian beat Tri in the semi-state championship game to punch their ticket to the state championship for the first time ever, 58-54. Yesterday, unfortunately, they fell short in the 1A state championship game, lost to Lanesville 60-41. The game was never close. It was a wire-to-wire win for Lanesville. Bethany fell down by double digits in the entire second half and just couldn't come over the hump. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Bethany Christian finished as 2023 1A state runner-ups.
Right.
24-4. Only losses were to Central Noble, 51-39. Highland, 47-33. Fairfield, 50-26. And to wrap it all up, Lanesville, 60-41. Those were the only losses for Bethany Christian. It was a great year for them. I didn't get the opportunity to go see them in person, but I know they were a very tough team, a tough out, and they had a terrific year. And I really think they can be back competing for another state championship next year. And so can Fairfield. Enough about girls basketball. We need to jump into the meat of this. It's sectional time for boys in Indiana. Hoosier Hysteria is commencing, and it's a few days away from March Madness.
Best time of year
in both NCAA and high school. Exactly, best time of the year. So a few teams that have some good records, some of which are local. But we got in 4A, Ben Davis. We all know they're 26-0 now. They're ranked number 1 in 4A and in the state. They're also ranked in max preps. They're the 9th best team in the country. But according to ESPN, they're 24. Either way, they're ranked in the top 25 in the national polls for high school basketball boys.
Right.
We got Penn, as we talked about. They're 23-1, ranked number 2, both in state and in their class, which is 4A. They're also ranked 43rd in the country, so they're top 45, top 50. Their only loss was to Ben Davis in the Raymond James Hall of Fame Classic down in Newcastle,
right?
Which I had the privilege of going to. And that was December 30th. They lost by 12, 65-53. The fourth quarter, Ben Davis just took over. I mean, Penn could do whatever they wanted in the first half. But in that second half, and especially the fourth quarter, Ben Davis, their size and their skill strength just kind of took over. And Marcus Burton really didn't have a great game. He was kind of held in check, and that's ultimately why Penn lost that game. A fun fact that the Hall of Fame Classic is also played down in the Newcastle Fieldhouse, which is the largest high school gym in the world.
Really?
Yes.
What's the seating capacity in that thing?
Seating capacity. Oh, just take a gander.
I don't even know. I don't know. So 25,000.
Oh no, lower than that. Be
5,000.
5,000. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
You're off by 3,000.
Is it 8,000?
It's the current capacity is 8,424.
Wow.
Now they were at before, I think it was 3 years ago, they had people go into different gyms and recount all of the seats. So before that, Newcastle was listed at almost 10,000. They were listed at 9,500 something, 9,300, because of they had artificial seating for one game that they had to fill, and they used that as the official capacity.
Right.
So I think this 8,000 is still counting the artificial seating, but most of it is the arena they play in.
Right.
And it is fantastic. It is a fantastic arena. If you ever get the chance to go, you specifically, Brady, or anyone else who's listening to this, go, because it is great. It's just awesome. So we got also Hammond Central. They are a new school from a couple years. They replaced Hammond and I believe another school from Hammond, and they could just consolidate it into Hammond Central. They're 22-1. They're ranked number 3 in 4A and in the state. and their only loss was to a team in Chicago, Whitney Young, in a tournament in Illinois,
Right.
by 5,
Mm.
December 27th, 61-56. Those two are the only ones that are not really in the area for 4A. So 3A, Mishawaka Marion, 22-2 on the year now. They're ranked number 2 in 3A and number 9 in the state. Their only losses were to Homestead in the Homestead tournament championship game, 55-49 in overtime on December 29th, and also to Penn, 66-52. One of the only times Penn has scored under 80 points after losing to Ben Davis. They also Northwood as well. They're 21-2. They're ranked number 1 in 3A and 8th in the state. Their only losses are to Beech Grove in a Sneakers for Santa shootout down in Brownsburg, 55-51 against on December 3rd. And then Ben Davis in the Hall of Fame Classic Championship game, 60-42. Another Gary school, but in 3A, Lake Station. They're ranked 8th in 3A. They're 19-3 overall. Their only losses were to Gary West by 4, 64-60, November 29th. They got blown out by Munster, 84-66 on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day from Munster, by the way, to Lake Station. And then to Portage, at Portage, by 3, 64-61. North Judson, they're 20-3. They're ranked 15th in 2A. Their only losses are to Knox on the road, 42-39, December 21st. Western, 55-44, December 28th. In the Clinton Central tournament, and to Rensselaer Central, 49-36, January 20th. Fort Wayne Blackhawk, state powerhouse in basketball. We'll get into more about Fort Wayne Blackhawk later, not basketball related. They're ranked 4th in 2A, 16th in the state. Their only losses are to North Davies, 62-57 in overtime of the Bobcat of Davies County Classic. Then they lost to Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger, 64-61, January 24th, and to Fort Wayne, 75-73, January 28th. Wrapping all that up, West Noble, 20-3, ranked 6th in 3A. Only losses were to Fort Wayne Blackhawks, 71-58, in the Trine University Classic, December 30th, and to also Northwood, 55-47, February 7th, and to Angola, 77-71. So now let's just jump into who's playing who in sectionals in the area.
All right.
So we're starting 4A. Starting the port. So this sectional is comprised of South Bend Adams, Michigan City, Plymouth, Mishawaka, LaPorte, and South Bend Riley. So first, the field record, combined records of all teams, is 81-52, which is 9th best in the state.
Really?
Yes. So we got South Bend Adams is facing Michigan City in Game 1. These first two games are all going to be February 28th, which is Tuesday. So February 28th at LaPorte is South Bend Adams versus Michigan City. Adams is 8-13 and Michigan City is 16-6. Who do you got in that one, Brady? We got Adams and Michigan City.
I want to say Adams, but I think Michigan City is gonna. I think this game's gonna go into overtime. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a 1 or 2 point game here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's gonna be a close one.
Okay.
It's not gonna be a blowout.
Okay.
I don't see that
Okay.
happening. I think these sectionals are gonna be very interesting this year.
All right. So you got Michigan City winning then in overtime by like
overtime by
two
like
or three.
2, 3.
Okay. The second game, we have Plymouth versus Mishawaka. Plymouth is 10-12, and Mishawaka is 16-6. Mishawaka and Plymouth have both played each other this year, obviously, because both teams are in the same conference. And Mishawaka won that game 63-55.
See, Kenny, I gotta love Plymouth. I'm from there. It's my hometown. But I think you got to go with Mishawaka in this game. I think they're a little well-rounded, a little bit more well-rounded as a team than Plymouth. But, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's probably going to be I'm going to say an 8, maybe 10-point game by Mishawaka. They'll probably win. They'll probably dominate through most of the game. I think Plymouth will try to, cook something up probably in the fourth, try to do something, but I don't think they're gonna be able to win that game, sadly.
Okay. All right. So he's got Mishawaka winning game 2 on February 28th. Now, March 3rd, we have LaPorte facing the winner of game 1. And then in the second game, South Bend Riley facing the winner of game 2. So in our little hypothetical here, it would be on March 3rd, it would be LaPorte facing Michigan City. So Michigan City would enter 17-6, and LaPorte enters that game in their own sectional 17-6. So in that first game, who do you think is going to the sectional championship?
I think LaPorte.
Okay.
I mean, what do you think, Kenny? I'm mixed.
See, I really don't know because I honestly don't know any of these teams well enough to give a prediction. So LaPorte and Michigan City have met already. Because they are in the same conference. That's right. And LaPorte won at Michigan City by 3, 76-73. So, the old saying is it's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year. So, give me Michigan City.
You're taking Michigan.
I'll take Michigan City in that one. I think it's going to be at least 5 points. I don't think it's going to be above 10. I think it's going to be one of those close games, but free throws at the end are going to make the score look bigger than what it is.
Right.
So I think it's going to feel like a 2-point game, but it's probably going to end up like a 5-point game, like 61-56 or something like that or whatever, only because of free throws at the end of the game. But, again, I have Michigan City winning that one if I were to pick. And then that leaves in game 2, South Bend Riley, and in our little hypothetical, it would be Mishawaka.
Right.
In that one, Brady, who do you got? You got 13-9 versus what would be 17-6.
I'm calling an upset here. I think South Bend Riley's gonna beat Mishawaka.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be an upset here.
So both teams have not played each other, which is weird because they're both kind of local to each other, but okay. So it'll be the first time those teams met. Give me Mishawaka big by at least 10 points. Now that is if they can even play the game. And I am hinting at something that we'll get into later.
Right.
About South Bend Riley. and it also involves another South Bend school. You do the math at which one do you think it is. Don't tell me. I'll ask you which one do you think it is at the time we talk about that. And then March 4th would be the championship game. So most of these games, I'll just say this now. Most games, the first 2 games will be played February 28th. The next 2 games would be played March 3rd. The championship game would be March 4th. So we'll jump to the other 4A sectional, Elkhart. That's the other local sectional. This field record is 78-55. So that's 15th best in the state. So the teams in this sectional, for game 1, we're going to have a rematch of the game that happened just recently, Penn versus Elkhart. Penn 23-1, and Elkhart a 16-6 record. For me, Brady, give me Penn by 42.
I'll take Penn also by 40, 45. It's gonna be a blowout.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be close.
Yeah.
If they don't win by more than 30, I would consider that a good effort
By Elkhart. Yes, because the last time that Penn and Elkhart met on the hardwood, Penn won 85-24. So they didn't just win by 30. They didn't just win by 40. They won by 51. So give me Penn by 40. So, and I said 42.
That's being fair.
Yeah,
that's a fair number.
That's being fair to both Elkhart and to Penn.
Yeah.
So in game 2, we have Northridge and Warsaw. Northridge comes in at 13-10, on Warsaw 14-9. I will say, Northridge's 13-10 record is a little bit deceiving because they played Northwood in their game really close, midway through the year. They played them super close. So that 13-10 record, I think, looks a little better than what it does right now. But that being said, give me Warsaw in that game.
I'm taking Warsaw also.
I'd say by at least 5 points as well.
That's what I was thinking. Probably
I think
5.
it's going to be competitive, but again, kind of like the LaPorte Michigan City game for my prediction. It's going to come down to free throws at the end to make it a little bit more
padded.
Yeah, they're going to pad the scoring a little bit. The next game would be Penn versus Goshen. Goshen is 500, 11-11, and then Penn would come in 24-1.
Penn by 30.
Give me Penn by 45 in that game. And it's not like we're saying these as a joke.
No,
we're
serious.
saying this as like this literally could seriously happen.
No, it will happen.
Touche. I stand corrected. It will happen. And then the second game would be Warsaw versus Concord. Concord is 1 game over 500 at 11-10, and then Warsaw would enter 15-9. Now Concord and Warsaw will obviously have both played each other, both in the same conference, and Warsaw won that game 52-35. So give me Warsaw again.
I'm gonna say Warsaw by probably 15 is my.
Yeah, give me Warsaw by at least 10. Maybe I'll go 8.
You think 8?
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be about 15.
Just only because again, it's kind of hard to beat the same team twice. So the team kind of has a scout on you already.
But you also kind of have a scout on them because you saw how they played.
True,
so.
That's true. So yeah, then that would leave for the championship game, Penn versus Warsaw. Penn and Warsaw have played already, but Penn only won by 10, 50-40. So, with that being said, Give me Penn by 20.
I was literally gonna say Penn by 20, but yeah. I agree, Kenny. I agree.
So so that would be the winner of Elkhart. We're saying is Penn, and then the winner of LaPorte, we're saying is Michigan City. But are you saying South Bend Riley?
I'm saying an upset. I'm
You're
saying
saying
South Bend Riley's
South Bend
gonna
Riley.
upset.
Okay, so you've got South Bend Riley. Did I add? So you got South Bend Riley versus
It was
Michigan City. Yeah, I don't think we ever got into the who do you
championship.
who do you think is going to win in South Bend Riley and Michigan City?
Oh wait, didn't I already? Oh wait, so
Riley would
no,
face Mishawaka.
Riley. I
And
think
then
Mishawaka's gonna.
You think Mishawaka is going to be?
Well, wait,
No, you had Riley beating Mishawaka.
Oh yeah, sorry, I had an upset, and then
then we
Riley's
never-
not gonna beat Michigan.
Okay, Michigan City.
No, Michigan
Okay,
City's
you
gonna
got
win.
City's going to win.
City's gonna
So
win.
we both have City winning the LaPorte sectional.
Right.
So we're going to drop down to 3A.
Yeah.
Because there's no other local
Love 3A.
4A teams. So the Knox sectional, that can field record at 60-52. That's 23rd best in the state. So the first game, the only game, February 28th, is John Glenn versus Tippy Valley. John Glenn comes in at 13-10, and Tippecanoe Valley comes in at 18-5. And they just lost to Marion recently. It was a fairly close game. But I look up to see if both teams have played already. And they have not. So this would be the first meeting of these two schools for this year. And give me Tippy Valley.
I'm taking Tippy by
I'll say by
9.
10.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so 9-10 points, somewhere in there. And then so the second game, which would be March 3rd, would be Knox versus Culver Academy. Give me CMA.
I got a thing against Culver Academy, but that's
Oh,
a
you
whole
got a-
nother.
oh,
That's
you-
a whole
oh,
nother.
okay.
That's a whole nother
Okay.
thing.
Give me CMA in that game. Give me them by 7.
I sadly have to agree.
Wow. I thought you were going to take Knox because of that.
No, I have to agree. Culver Academy, I don't like them, but they're gonna win that game. They're gonna win.
Okay. And then we have we both have Tippecanoe Valley facing Bremen. So Bremen faces the winner of game 1. Bremen is abysmal this year in basketball. They are now 2-20.
I'm calling it, Kenny. The biggest upset in
so Bremen versus
basketball.
Tippy. You're calling it here?
Tippy Valley loses in overtime by a desperation 3. Buzzer chimes. Bremen wins 63-60 in overtime. I will shave my head if that happens bald. I think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. I know it's
score exactly happens. You are gonna shave your head.
I will shave my head. 63 and it has to be in overtime, and they have to win by a desperation 3.
Yep.
Yep.
Respectfully,
But realistically, Bremen's getting smoked. They're probably losing by 40.
okay.
But I want Bremen to win. I want that to be because that how they're playing Tippy Valley, right? You know how dogged on everyone would that'd be so funny for Tippy Valley to lose to Bremen. Like who's lost to Bremen? What?
Who's lost to Bremen?
Yeah, they have 2 wins.
The list is short enough I can count on one finger. That's how bad. Let me pull up Bremen's schedule here. We got, there you are. All right, so the teams that have lost to them, and these are going to be like, why? Oregon Davis. Yeah, 42-32. And then they lost to Culver, 35-32. Now, here's the interesting thing about Culver. And this is also kind of making a shot at LaVille here. I know I never would make a shot at LaVille. Mm-hmm. This is kind of like one of those how shots. Culver beat LaVille.
Yeah.
65-54.
So what you're telling me,
does that mean that
Bremen is better than LaVille? Because
no. I will shoot that down right now. No. Yes. Because we've already beaten Bremen already, 42-37. So we're better than LaVille. We're better than Bremen. We're not better than LaVille. LaVille is better than LaVille. I will say that. LaVille is better than LaVille.
You only won by 5, though.
Hey, we beat Bremen. That's all that matters. So I respectfully disagree with your first prediction, Brady, because Bremen is getting the doors spanked off of them. I mean, this is not even going to be close. Give me Tippy Valley by 30.
Wow.
And then that would mean that the sectional championship game would be between CMA and Tippy Valley. Got to go with the Vikings of TV.
Mm-hmm.
Give me them by 8.
I'm going Tippy Valley by 3. Yeah, it's going to be close game.
All right. We both have Tippy Valley coming out of the not sectional.
I will never root for Culver Academy to win. Like, even if I know they're going to win, I'm not going to root. I mean, I know they're going to win that one game, but I don't know. I just won't.
And like you said, we won't go into it on this podcast because obviously it's something that should be said in another podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll jump to the Jimtown sectional then, staying in 3A. So the teams in there, first game would be Mishawaka Marion and our favorite South Bend Clay.
South Bend Clay, baby.
We got 22-2 versus 11-11. Both of these teams have met previously this year. Mishawaka Marion obviously won pretty handedly, 70-36 over South Bend Clay at South Bend Clay. So give me Marion by 30.
So it's Marion versus
South Bend Clay.
So we don't condone doing hard drugs, but if you are a fan of South Bend Clay, I'm not going to scold you because, honestly, they're going to lose by 50. I'm calling it. They're losing by 50. It's not even going to be like you're going to have to like it's like that scene from Space Jam where Michael Jordan gets squished like flat, like literally flat. That's what it's going to be like Clay. Like they're just going to be absolutely demolished. Like it's not no contest. It's gonna get to the point where, you know, it's like you have a running clock in football. There should be a running clock, you know.
There
is a running clock?
Yeah.
How
35.
It's 35?
35.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
They're gonna lose, and they're not gonna think it was a basketball game. They're gonna think it was like what's a sport you get a lot of points in? It's really high. Oh no! South Bend Clay's score is gonna be like a hockey game. That's the amount of points they're gonna score. Is like a hockey game, dude. They're gonna score like maybe 2 goals or 2 points. It's a joke, of course. They're gonna score more than that, but
wow,
it's gonna be painful. I'm not watching that game.
I'm not going to that game.
You're going?
No, I'm not going.
Oh, I thought you said you're going. I'm like,
oh heck no!
Need some bleach for your eyes.
There's better games to go
so
to that I'm going to
better.
list off.
Yeah.
No. So the second game is going to be Jimtown versus South Bend St. Joe. Jimtown is 5-17, and St. Joe is 10-14. So
I think you just got to go with the
I'm
statistics
just
here.
gonna go St. Joe.
Yeah, St. Joe.
I'm not even gonna give a prediction because I really don't care.
I mean, I'll just say by 10.
Okay.
I think it's just going to be
Okay.
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter
much.
at all.
Neither of those teams are going to win the sectionals.
No, but it does bring up a good first game for the semifinals because we have a rematch of Marion versus South Bend, Washington. And Washington is 16-5. Marion would enter 23-2. And Marion has beat Washington earlier by 20, 69-49 at Marion. So give me Marion by 15.
I'm doing Marion by 10. I think it's gonna be.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be a little closer.
Okay.
But I think it could swing to they might only win by 5, or it might just be a really close game,
Yeah.
neck to neck. I mean,
Or it could
everything
be
on the line.
could be an absolute just
Blowout.
demolishing by Marion.
Yeah, but I just don't see that.
Yeah, I don't see Washington winning that game. So the second game for the semifinals would be New Prairie entering at 9-13, and we both have South Bend St. Joe in that game. They would be 11-14. It's another one of those we really don't care because they're not going to win the sectional anyway.
We already know who's going to win the sectional.
Yeah, we're just going to jump straight to we both have Marion winning the sectional.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now we're going to jump over to Northwood. The Northwood sectional.
Now this is interesting.
74-39. Second best in the state.
Oh, well, obviously, yeah, we know what's number 1.
What's number one?
What number 1 in the state for
the sectional field?
Yeah, that's what is it?
You're not going to get it.
I'm not going to get it?
You're not going to get it.
Really?
Yeah. Take a wild guess.
Okay. Do you know what it is without looking at it?
I do.
You do?
I do.
What is it?
Muncie Central.
Oh, they probably only have like let me guess. They have like 17 losses. Maybe not. Maybe less. I don't know.
No, they have more than 17.
Really?
But they're north of 80 wins. Well north of 80 wins.
So just give me their who's all in that
So
conference?
it's a 4A sectional.
Right.
We have New Palestine. They're in the quarterfinals. They have to bye. They're 21-2. Richmond, 16-6.
Richmond, yeah.
Pendleton Heights, 7-16. They are the only team with the losing record. Muncie Central, 15-7. Mount Vernon, 14-8. Anderson, 19-4. Greenfield Central, 21-1. So you put all of those combined, that sectional field is 113-44. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Lee good. But yeah. So Northwood sectional is the second best at 74-39. And the first game pits Wawasee 9-13 versus Northwood at 21-2. Let's just not even waste our breath picking the winner of that game.
Everyone knows that.
Second game on March 3rd. So the first game on March 3rd, Lakeland versus West Noble. So Lakeland 16-7 versus West Noble 20-3. I'm gonna personally take West Noble, but I'm gonna take well under 10. I'm gonna go like 5. I'm gonna say it's a really close game.
I think it's going to be a really close game also, but I think it's going to swing the other direction there, Kenny.
Oh, you're pulling the upset.
I'm pulling the upset here.
Okay. All right. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Thank you, Dumb and Dumber. Wow, that is okay. Wow, we need to rein it back. So the second game would pit Fairfield, 8-14 versus Northwood. We already know.
So in other news,
Yeah. So the sectional semifinal, sectional championship of the Northwood sectional for you, Brady, that pits Lakeland at 17-7 versus Northwood at 23-2. Who do you got? Northwood. Okay.
yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
There's no point. I mean, there might be a little bit of a resistance, but it's going to be a 20-point win, I think, easily.
Okay.
20 points.
And then for me, I have West Noble and Northwood, a rematch of the game February 7th at West Noble. Unfortunately, the rematch will not end in a different result. Give me Northwood by 2.
Wow.
By 2.
I'm saying Northwood by 6.
Okay. So enough of 3A. We're going to move to 2A. And we're going to focus on LaVille sectional.
Don't worry, everyone. We're going through the whole alphabet. We're going to get to 4B, 3C. Don't worry.
We're not covering everybody. So in 2A, this is 2A, the North Judson sectional. Field record, 64-69. So not great, not bad either. But first game is Wheeler at North Judson. Wheeler comes in at 3-19, and North Judson's 20-3.
North Judson.
We're not going to waste our breath. Now, second game is going to be, I think it's going to be close. We got LaVille 14-9 versus Hebron 12-10. Now, Hebron has beat LaVille already early in the year. Hebron beat LaVille. Let's see. Pull up that game. Hebron won at home against LaVille 60-47. Give me the Lancers in that game. I am going to be a homer. I'm going to wear that on my sleeve in every podcast episode if we talk about LaVille. Give me LaVille by 7.
I think I'm going to have to. I got to take LaVille. I mean, I'm probably going to. I think it's going to be a little bit better of a game for LaVille, so I'm going to say LaVille by, I'll say 12. LaVille by 12.
Okay. All right. And then, so in the second game, on the first game of the semifinals, we have South Central 5-16 versus North Judson. We're not going to do anything because we all know who's going to win that one, too. So we'll jump right into the second game. I'm pretty sure you had North Judson winning that first game, right?
Yeah,
I had to ask, but I didn't have to ask.
You didn't have to ask.
So we have South Bend Career Academy, 10-12 versus LaVille, 14-9. The Lancers have already played.
Well, they'd be 15 and
15-9.
15-9.
Career Academy and LaVille have already faced off before, and the Lancers won handedly, 75-59. I don't expect any sort of difference in that game. Give me the Lancers by 10.
Yeah, Lancers by 10, yeah.
Okay. And that means sectional championship faces LaVille at 16-9 versus North Judson at 22-3. Unfortunately, I think the Lancers come up short against North Judson. Just the fact that North Judson's playing at home and just how good North Judson is. North Judson's going to come out with the win and be crowned sectional champions. But it's going to be closer than what the experts think. Give me the Blue Jays +6.
I believe in magic, Kenny. I believe in the Lancers. And I'm making some interesting claims here today because I think they're going to go out there and they're going to win by at least the bare minimum of 9 points, the Lancers. I'm calling it. At least 9 points.
Okay.
They're gonna set the tone for the game because we'll know who's gonna probably win that game in the first quarter because those are two pretty dominant. Like you'll know who's gonna win that game usually.
Yeah.
So unless it's the Lady Lancers, then sometimes it's a little different. But
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I never said I didn't believe in the Lancers.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Kenny. I'm saying I believe in the guys.
Okay. All right.
They're the boys. They got it.
I like it. I like your pick. I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So now we're going to jump over to the Westview sectional. We'll briefly touch on this one because there's really no local teams playing in it. I mean, there is, but there isn't. None local to the vicinity of northern Indiana-ish. But, I mean, you got all the Northeast Corner Conference teams playing each other. So Churubusco, 13-9 at Westview is game 1. And then Fremont, 12-10 versus Prairie Heights at 15-8. The winner of those two games will face in game 1 would be Eastside versus probably Westview, and then Central Noble at 17-6 versus probably Prairie Heights at 16-8. And then I probably would have Central Noble winning that sectional.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close. And then in the Rochester sectional, we have Winnemac 8-15 versus North Miami 1-21. Give me Winnemac to get the 9 wins on the year. And then we have Pioneer versus Lewis Cass, a rivalry game between those two schools. Pioneer's 5-18 and Lewis Cass is 15-7. Give me Cass in that game, and then Wabash would face the winner of game 1, which I would say would be Winnemac. Give me Wabash, and then Rochester would face Lewis Cass. Give me Lewis Cass, and I would say that Wabash is going to come out of that sectional.
Mm-hmm.
We'll jump to Triton. The Rochester sectional and Westview sectionals, their field records are Westview is 70-64, which is top 25. It's 25th in the state. And then Rochester is abysmal, 56-76. And it doesn't help when you have a team that's 1-21 in your sectional.
Yeah.
So that's 21 losses right there. Triton, they're 76-79, so fairly decent. First game would be Trinity Green Lawn versus Culver. Trinity is 6-16. Culver's 10-12. Culver's coming off a loss against Bremen, who came into that game 1-20. Give me Culver.
I'll take Culver also.
And then second game we have Argus and Triton, two rivals. Give me Argus in that game. Argus is 14-7 and Triton is 12-10.
I think Triton's gonna win. I'm calling
Triton. Oh, Triton. Okay.
Yep.
And then we have probably the winner of the sectional is going to be coming from this game. Marquette Catholic. They are from Michigan City, and then Westville. Both teams are 16-7. Give me Marquette Catholic only because they have the resume from previous wins and state championship runs before, so they know how to win. Give me Marquette Catholic.
I'll have to go with Marquette Catholic also. They got the know-how.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it before, so I think they'll do it
so
again.
the Oregon Davis would face most likely Culver. That's 2-20 versus 11-12.
Yeah.
Give me Culver. Yeah, we're not even going to waste their breath. And then Marquette Catholic would face Argus. Give me Marquette Catholic because I don't think Argus is up to the challenge. That's not a shot at Jason Breeden's team. Jason Breeden's team is tough. They're physical. They're about every Argus team I've seen before. Very defensive heavy and all that. So I think Marquette Catholic is going to come out of that sectional because I don't think Culver is going to stand a chance against them. And then real quick, the Hamilton sectional for 1A. Triton is also a 1A, by the way. The Hamilton sectional, their field record is 47-60. Bethany Christian faces Hamilton in the first game. Hamilton's 0-17. Bethany Christian's 13-10. Give me Bethany. And then March 3rd, we got Lakewood Park versus Lakeland Christian. Lakeland Christian's going to come out of that sectional, by the way. They're 18-5. Give me the Lakeland Christian to win that sectional. Elkhart Christian would face the winner of Game 1, which is Bethany Christian and Hamilton. Doesn't matter. I'm not even going to waste my breath. Lakeland Christian's going to win that sectional easily. Now to some other high school news. South Bend St. Joe is coming under fire because of their mascot name. They are currently the Indians.
Right.
And they are considering a mascot change. And I've heard from sources that the Carpenters are a strong favorite to replace the Indians.
I hate that. Personally.
You hate that. Okay, well, it's okay. Why and what nickname would you give them?
Le Carpatron. I'm making a joke here. So I would just keep the name. I think it's, I don't know how long they've had the name.
For a while.
For a long time, it seems like. But, I don't think it's disrespecting anyone or really anything bad because it's actually, showing light to Indians. It's not, that's one thing is I don't like, them changing stuff like that, because it gets rid of history. And, you can't change history. I mean, it happened, and what you can do is you can either honor or you can remember, and if you decide you want to forget, then you'll repeat it.
Right.
So, that's why I think they should just stay
the Indians.
Stay the Indians, personally. But if they had to change, I would do something that has to maybe do with, I don't know, just a mascot, which would be cool, because the Carpenters.
Okay, all right.
I don't know, man.
Well, okay,
it's not bad.
Like
I guess Carpenter. I mean, that's basketball. That's just their school mascot, right?
Yes.
So that feels more just like you could be related to basketball, but a Carpenter. Like,
well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing. They're a Catholic school. They're South Bend St. Joseph. Joseph. Who was he?
A carpenter.
Carpenter.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of biblical aspect to it.
Right.
But I kind of agree. The Carpenters. You can come up with a better nickname.
LaVille Lancer. That's perfect. I love that.
Yes.
Plymouth Pilgrims.
Or Plymouth Rockies.
Or Rockies. Because they have two.
They are the only school, I believe, that has two nicknames.
Yeah.
For their school.
But the Rockies is mainly when you refer to their football.
Is football and I think wrestling.
Yeah. But
any other sport
is Pilgrims, and I love that name. That's a perfect name for Plymouth.
Yes.
Lancers, that's really cool.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
John Glenn Falcons.
Falcons.
Yes.
Amazing. Great name.
Eagles.
Knights.
Literally
all of anything.
All of those. Kingsmen. I think Penn is the only school that uses Kingsmen as their nickname.
I've never heard of that before.
And then Mishawaka's the Cavemen.
Yeah.
They're great nicknames.
Great nicknames.
And I will say, since we're talking about nicknames, I am upset at Elkhart High School for not using a great nickname that they had. So, I'll give you a little bit here. So Elkhart Central and Elkhart Memorial were heated rivals. And in football, they both played for a trophy called the Mangy Lion. Now, when they consolidated, they had different nicknames available. And the one that struck me was they were considered, and I think they should have been, the Elkhart Mangy Lions.
I remember this.
Paying homage to the rivalry with keeping the Lions name, because I like the Lions, but Lions just overused for a lot of teams. But Mangy Lions just stands out. But it fell short to Lions. And I'm still upset by that. I don't lose sleep over it. But it's one of those, it's like, you guys missed out on a really good opportunity, which is unfortunate. But that's all I got to say about that. High school football news. We got some heated stuff to get into here. Yeah. Especially stuff from down in Indianapolis. But we're going to start right here in northern Indiana. Specifically, the school right up the road, LaVille High School.
Oh, yeah.
They named their new head football coach. Defensive coordinator Jeff Kaiser becomes the 14th head football coach for the LaVille Lancers. And he's got some big-time shoes to fill.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's taking over for Will Hostrauser. And he was the winningest coach in LV history. He finished 79-33, and he won 70% of his games. Great coach. And I'm really looking forward to where LaVille goes from here, especially under new management under Jeff Kaiser. I am excited to see what the Lancers have in store for themselves. It's going to be tough with the senior class that they are losing.
Yep.
But that foundation has been set for excellence. And if you want to be great, you got to put in the work.
Right.
And the work starts after your last loss.
Got to have that Mamba mentality, man.
Oh, for sure. More football news. We're going to jump over to the Fort Wayne area because this one's kind of cool. I kind of like this. So Fort Wayne Blackhawk, basketball school, well-known basketball school, multiple state championships, multiple good players coming out of there. They just started playing football last year. 8-man football. Yes. So they won the state title last year in 8-man football. In the inaugural season of 8-man football. What have you.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're jumping to 11-man football this year.
This is going to be interesting.
Yes. So I think they have to wait, I think maybe 2 years before they can jump into actually being an IHSAA recognized school.
Right.
For football. Because right now they are listed as a 1A school, but they cannot go into the tournament just yet.
Right.
I don't know what that all entails to join. I will need to look that up, and I will have that in our next episode.
Right.
We'll briefly touch on this subject. So now to the big news I'm talking about from down in Indianapolis. Okay. So what two schools do you think I'm talking about?
This is for football.
This is for all sports.
So by Indy, there's, oh man, what's the name of the school?
It's also a town or a city.
Is it not Carmel? No, it's what's it? I can't. Dang it, Kenny! I know
It's not caramel.
it's not caramel. Is it caramel?
Yes,
It is caramel.
it is.
I
Caramel.
thought it was caramel.
It's caramel. Caramel is one of the schools.
It's caramel, and then is the other one with an M?
No,
No. Okay, I was thinking of
it
something
also
else.
starts with a C though.
Oh, it's. I don't know.
It's Carmel and Center Grove.
Center Grove.
Yes.
All the rich kids go to Center Grove.
No,
man.
all the rich kids go to Carmel.
Carmel. But Center Grove is better than Carmel, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which is funny
Preach
because
it.
all the rich kids go to.
Preach it.
I always get those two mixed because I've been to Carmel a couple times. I've never been to
Sorry about that.
any game. Yeah, I've not been to any games, but like
You've been in the city before.
I've been in the city and I love Carmel. I mean, it's great, but
It's all right.
I don't know.
It's a
I
not.
like it.
It's the Dollar General indie, if you will.
Yeah,
It's smaller. They want to be big, but they're really not.
they can't get any bigger. That's
No,
the
they
issue.
can't.
They can't. They don't got the room.
Right, exactly. So, they played a basketball game a while ago, and after the game, Center Grove won, by the way, and the student section stormed the court. No problem with that. But in the handshake line, and coming out, the Carmel coach told his players that when they leave, they need to go back around the baseline to go around all of the students. Okay, no big deal there. That's what you should do anyway. But the head coach did not. He went against what he told his players, and he went straight through the students on the court at Center Grove, shoving students out of the way, and what have you. And he shoved a student that didn't take that very nicely and shoved him back. And now Carmel has reached out to Center Grove, stating that they no longer want the rivalry to continue. So, in order to do this, Carmel would have to pay $1,000 for because of they would be forfeiting the rest of the series.
Really?
Yes, and this is all stemming from that one incident, and Carmel stating we no longer want to play you, and this is all after being voted out of the biggest conference in northern Indiana, in Indiana, in central Indiana, the Metropolitan Interscholastic Conference, which is the Indianapolis Big School Conference.
Right.
Both schools got voted out 2 years ago, and they've been playing.
Which
independent
honestly, I
schedule.
don't agree with Center Grove being taken out of that conference. But
No.
Carmel, I can understand.
Carmel, yes, because no one wants to play them.
Well, yeah, because they're a bunch of rich, spoiled kids who just cry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
that's Carmel.
Yeah, and they have almost 4,000 students. They're the largest enrollment school in Indiana, and it's just, I don't want to say it's unfair, but it's unfair. But Center Grove got voted out too. But they would be a perfect fit. Center Grove is trying to join one of the conferences almost just north of them. I forget what it is, but I can find it because it'll be a perfect fit for them too. So we'll find that conference here. The Hoosier Crossroads Conference. The Hoosier Crossroads it's a smaller big school conference. And it's got a few Indianapolis schools. It's got Avon, Zionsville, Westfield, and Fishers.
Oh yeah.
Noblesville too. So it's got those.
It's got some teams.
It's got the Indianapolis schools,
Right.
but smaller.
It's a little smaller.
A little smaller. So it'd be a perfect fit for Center Grove. That conference has said no to Center Grove and has turned down Carmel.
Well, and the issue with Carmel is it's not just that they have 4,000 students; it's that they have probably the nicest facilities, is my guess. So they have, the best equipment, the best everything. So, I mean, it's like it's like college, dude. It's literally a college. Like,
Yeah.
they're literally a college.
Yeah.
Like, that's like basically what they are.
Yeah.
So, you have like a college level team playing against high school teams.
It's not
It's
fair.
not. It's not even that it's not fair. It's just like they should not be allowed to be that big. If they want to play in collegiate sport, they should not be that big.
Right.
It's too big. We're not in California.
Right. And it's like the only way that they can reduce that is to split in the two schools.
Which they should do.
They should, but they weren't. They're not.
They won't
ever do that.
Yeah.
Sticking with Center Grove, they are playing in football because they're independent right now. They're playing the Division I state champion from Ohio this past year. You laugh, dude. This Center Grove schedule for football is starting to turn out to be one of the toughest in the state.
Really?
Yeah. The first game of the year is a neutral site game against Lakewood St. Edward from Ohio. Their next game is at Carmel, which could change, by the way, if Carmel backs out.
Right.
Their next game, another powerhouse from Kentucky, Louisville Trinity. And then they play another powerhouse from Cincinnati Moeller. And then they play a couple of metropolitan schools with the likes of Indianapolis Cathedral, who is just a state powerhouse in almost every sport.
Yeah, that's just kind of a known.
Yeah.
Known thing.
Yeah. And then we're going to jump back to Northern Indiana, and then we'll jump back down to Indianapolis for the last little bit. But back here in Northern Indiana for football, backyard brawl between Penn and Mishawaka is back on for this year. August 25th, Penn will face Mishawaka at TCU Free Field, home of the 5-time state champion Penn Kingsmen. And this will be the 65th all-time meeting between the two schools.
You going to that game, Kenny?
Heck yes, I am.
Give me some. I'll have to go with you because it's gonna be a good game. I'll tell you.
Hey, you find a way to get up here, we'll take you to it. Penn leads the all-time series. On paper, it doesn't seem like a rivalry because Penn leads 48-15-1. So yeah, it doesn't seem like a rivalry, but it is a heated rivalry. You talk about two teams who don't like each other. Penn and Mishawaka do not like each other.
Who are you supporting in that game?
Penn.
Yeah.
So for all of you out there, I grew up a Penn fan. I grew up in the Penn School District. I went to a Penn school, and I was going to be going to Penn High School. But I ended up going to LaVille. But yeah, I grew up a big-time Penn fan. So, I just never liked Mishawaka either. Since growing up a Penn fan, I couldn't like Mishawaka.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna be rooting for the Kingsmen.
Same thing here.
That's my team.
I like Penn a lot more.
Yeah,
it's just how it is.
Exactly. But we'll jump back down to Indianapolis because we got to talk about Ben Davis in football. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to a team from Indiana. Ever, I would say. Ben Davis got a team from Florida to come up here. A powerhouse, by the way.
What team?
IMG Academy.
They had IMG Academy.
IMG Academy is going to Ben Davis.
For football.
For football.
For football.
Football.
I'm going to that game.
No, you are not.
Why? IMG Academy versus
IMG Academy
Ben Davis?
versus Ben Davis.
Are you going to that game?
No.
Why? It's IMG Academy.
It's at Ben Davis. It's in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
It's September 8th. Okay?
Oh, I might not even be. Dude, I want to go to that game.
I know you want to go.
I want to
but
go to
you're
that
not
so
going.
bad.
I'm going to let you know now. You're not going.
Are you? I'm
not
Why
going
is
either.
that, huh? I'll go get a Airbnb down there. Go watch the game.
Sure you will.
They got. Well, I mean, they are the number 9. Well, they're not number. Are they? They're number 9 for basketball. Where are they ranked for football?
Football. We'll check Max Preps. Football. They're ranked pretty high, I would think.
They're probably in the top for
IMG is 5th.
Well, IMG in the nation.
5th.
In the nation.
In the nation, yes.
Yeah. In Florida, they're probably number 1, right? No, they're probably number 2 because I know there's another.
Number 2.
They're number 2. Number 1 is.
You won't get it.
What is it?
Miami Central.
Oh yeah, no. Oh no. The other teams are definitely California or Texas. Right?
There's 2 teams from California ranked in the top 5.
Which I got a friend that goes to. I don't know if I have a friend out in California. Is it
Okay, who finished number 1 from California?
That's
Can't look it
No,
up.
I can't look it up, but I know the name of the school because my friend. The amount of people that go to this school is stupid. If you think Carmel has a lot of people, I think
Do you think it starts with an M?
it does, right?
No.
It doesn't?
They're not number 1.
They're not number 1?
No.
That's
So St. John Bosco.
Oh, yeah, never
from
mind.
Bellflower is number 1 from California. And the one you were thinking of, Mater Dei,
Yeah, my friend goes there.
is number 3.
It's number 3. Yeah, he
Number
said.
3.
Well, do you know how many? You know how many 5-star recruits they have?
Several.
They have 6. They have
yeah.
multiple that are going to USC. They have, I think, a couple. Yeah, I know, disgusting. I think they got a couple going to Alabama. But my friend, he plays JV there, and like for him playing JV as a sophomore playing JV,
That's like playing varsity here, by the way.
no, that's like. Yeah, pretty much, but it's like no, I'd say freshman team, not even freshman team. I don't even know those schools. I mean, they have so many kids that to make the football team, I mean, you have better odds making the football team than the basketball team. I don't know how many they have. It's probably it's a lot. I mean,
we're gonna look up the enrollment of Mater Dei High School.
I thought they had more than Carmel.
Jeez.
Are they not that high?
So let's pull up Carmel just to kind of give a.
Is Carmel more?
Let's see here. So Carmel High School. Let's see here. Carmel High School was right here. And most of this is going to get edited out too, because this is not great for air. Enrollment. So Carmel. Oh yeah, Carmel's way more, by the way.
Really?
Yes, significantly more. Let me do the math here. So that minus. Okay. What do you think the enrollment is of Mater Dei High School?
Well, if you're saying it's not a lot, I'm just gonna guess it's like 2,500.
Close.
Really?
2152. What's the enrollment of Carmel?
4,000.
No.
5,000.
No.
Is it higher?
Yes.
6,000?
Lower. It's 5,400.
Oh my gosh.
That's a difference of almost 3,300 students. Carmel has an enrollment of 5,400.
Is that the most in the nation?
That's the most in. It's the most in Indiana.
What's the
Highest enrollment high school in the country. We're gonna look this up. Enrollment high school. That would be Brooklyn Technical High School of Brooklyn, New York, with 8,076 students. But 8,000 students. And so
8,000.
8,076.
So So is IMG a private academy?
IMG, yes, I think it is a private.
I'm pretty
academy.
sure they are private because, well, dude, you know why I'm gonna go to a IMG game? You know who the coach for IMG is, Kenny?
No, I don't.
It's what's his name?
Well, I can find this out easily.
Oh, never mind. I'm thinking of a different high school team. Never mind.
Who are you thinking of?
Wait.
It's not Will Hostrauser, I can tell you that. Billy Miller.
Billy Miller.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who are you thinking of, by the way?
Give me a second.
One.
Never mind. That school is getting closed down.
Do tell. What school is that?
Well, it's getting so. Have you ever heard of Prime Prep Academy?
Prime Prep. No.
So they're a school. They have in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Dallas and Fort Worth. So they have two schools. So they were split. So the head coach for their football, Hall of Famer, Deion Sanders.
Okay. Okay.
So I for some reason thought he was the coach for IMG, but I was clearly wrong. But still, IMG is like, if you want to be in a highlight reel,
you go there.
you go there.
Yeah.
That's a highlight team.
Yeah. If you want to go to any high school for football and get at least a 4-star scholarship,
IMG.
you go to either Modern Day or IMG.
Yeah.
There you're gonna get
You get the most recognition out of
Exactly.
any high school in the country from those.
or Bishop Gorman
Mm-hmm.
from Las Vegas, or St. Thomas Aquinas. From
Even
Fort
Ben
Lauderdale.
Davis.
Ben.
I know some professional players went to Ben Davis that are pretty known.
I know some college players that have gone through Ben Davis. Some college players that have gone through Indianapolis Cathedral too. So there's a lot of them out there that have that prestige of being good high school football teams. And with that, we've got to end the high school portion of this podcast. Stay tuned for part 2, where we talk about college and some professional sports as well. So we'll see you in part 2. Have a good day, everybody.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the episode today. If you did, you should go check out the rest of our episodes on our website at ccflugnutspodcast.com.
You can also listen to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Follow us on our Facebook and Instagram pages by searching the Lugnuts Podcast Group.
Thanks for listening, and remember, Jesus loves you,
And
so do we.